Kill or Be Killed podcast with Damian Ross, founder and master instructor of the Self-Defense Company.
We're back, okay, to the Kill or Be Killed podcast portion of the webinar. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming. We're still taking questions. George, you there?
You know what? I'm going on union strike. I don't have a beer. Where's mine?
Holy Christ.
You want to tell me this is what happened?
What the hell?
So,
yeah, no, I'm still here. We're good. Doesn't seem to be any questions coming in at this point. So if you just want to yap on, man, go for it.
It's fine. I said, Mario, what were you talking about before? Before we leave, yeah.
3 layers, how to cultivate a warrior mindset. So the first layer is indignation, when you know how to transfer fear into outrage. The second layer is self-importance. Doesn't mean that you're important because you're a boss or you're like some big shot. It's because your family needs you and you need your family. Yeah. Layer number 3, self-confidence. Know that you can do it. You know, you always be confident of yourself. Be confident of the basics. Master the basics. That's it. It's very important.
So how do you so I've got confidence comes from, where does confidence come from?
Knowledge. Training.
Yeah.
Repetition.
Yeah, repetition. That's
right.
it.
Right.
Training.
How many times for me, I've just done things like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, that was.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, no, that's the first shocking thing. Wow, this worked hard.
Yeah, when I speak about knowledge, once you know how the body operates, you know, like the anatomy of the body, of the human body, the damage effect, the science, just like Carter's story explains, this is a beautiful confidence boost. Because you're talking about science. You're not listening from someone who have like 10, 20 black belts or,
right.
You know what I mean? Or someone who's been deployed 20 fucking times. So.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's where we were talking about too, actually doing it and hitting something.
Yeah.
I mean, at the bare minimum. I mean, always at the minimum. Like if you can get with somebody and you can work with somebody, it's good because you can get the effects of like, oh shit, like working with Nick, right? You're like, oh, you hit hard. And Nick's like, yeah, man, you know, like there's a bit that you're like, you know, that's where, you know, that's the benefit of training with a partner, you know, because you get that like real feedback from somebody telling you that it's okay. But, you know, to really develop that power, I mean, you got to just go all off and hit with no regard for your target. And that's where the dummies come in, or the train, because, you know, you're still, no matter what, the person who's holding the pad is somebody you somewhat care about.
Exactly. Yeah, your partner, definitely. Yeah. You can't flip the switch on someone. You can't kill them. So.
I think with some, the question about what do you do? You know, making something work. Do you have to hit a dummy that's standing, that's designed specifically for you training the techniques? I don't think so. I think I have at home, I have a heavy bag that I lay on the ground and bag, you sleep on a mattress.
Yeah.
Like be on the edge of the mattress. Hit a mattress. Just something to show that you are exerting force into something else. You don't have to have a log. You don't have to, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like there are people out there who hit logs or, that thing that stands up with the wooden dummy. Like,
I take the pad.
Yeah.
Well, 3 days before my dad got pissed, but
the matting that you put on your floor, the exercise matting you put on the floor. Yeah, wrap it around the column in your basement, wrap it around a tree outside, old tire. Just you can figure out if you really want to hit something, what is it? Something. What's
Improvise.
the mother of invention?
Necessity.
Necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Thank God, I almost said something else.
You know, I actually have a student back in Lebanon. He used tires because he couldn't afford a dummy.
Mhm.
And dummies back in Beirut, they cost a fucking fortune.
Yeah.
It cost like $500-$600.
Yeah.
Very expensive. Yeah.
How much your tires in Lebanon?
Cheap.
Send my car over there.
Especially with the revolution going on, you can find tires everywhere now.
So yeah,
Motivated.
so you got out.
screwing around.
You got out just in time, right? You know, I mean, so you were there. Like, how far before the explosion? I mean, that's really kind of what's going on.
Lack of responsibility.
Okay,
You know,
like of who?
the government.
So
Government.
over the blast.
Yeah, over like the port. Over the port,
Okay.
yeah, over the seaport.
So what are they claiming?
Shit show,
Yeah.
It's a shit show, yeah.
So what do the people want? It's like I guess I'm trying to say where's the argument? Like who's saying what? Like why are they upset with the government?
They don't have the rights. Everything inflated.
Yeah,
Hezbollah,
yeah.
terrorist organization, they took over.
Graft.
We lost the value of our
Yeah,
currency.
Corruption.
Yeah.
Corruption.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Sounds like Jersey. Like
It's a shit show. It's a shit show.
yeah.
It's a shit show. Yes, unfortunately. And they were actually submitted reports about the ammonium nitrate back
Okay.
at the port,
Mhm.
that this stuff is dangerous. It can be here.
Oklahoma City got
They
it.
didn't respond to it. Didn't care
Yeah.
about it.
It's
Because
been there for years.
years.
Yeah, 7 years, I think. Was some
Let
sort
me
of
ask you a
a,
question,
ownership.
Damian.
Yeah.
Like the time difference
Mhm.
between me traveling here was 1 week, and I was actually supposed to have a session 5 minutes away from the location.
No way.
Wow.
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 I was in shock.
Wow. Holy crap.
From the pictures that you saw, what is the effect going out? Like how many miles, how many kilometers?
Like the radius?
Yeah.
The radius was huge.
I mean, one side is the water, right? I'm assuming it's a ship, so I'm assuming there's water on one side, and then you have this large.
Is it an enclosed port? Like kind of like what I mean by that, like when the naval yards down in Jersey, right? So like if it was there, on one side's Jersey, and then a short distance away is New York.
Oh yeah,
Or was
the effect would be much better.
Right. So is that how this port is, or was it complete water on one side?
No, there was water on one side,
Oh,
which actually decreased the impact.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
If it was inland, between like
Yeah.
in the middle of Beirut, oh man, the casualties,
Yeah.
the casualty rate would be probably around like fucking thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands.
I
It's crazy.
Now you lost.
Yeah, I lost 4 loved ones.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Cheers, that's
Sorry.
cheers for them.
Shit.
Some were training, some were just
Yeah.
strolling there, you know. Yeah, I was in shock. Like, it took me like 3 weeks to reach out to Damian. And I
Oh,
told
wow.
Damian
Right,
about it.
right.
Yeah, like Damian probably.
So
was like,
as soon as I heard, I'm like, dude, where the hell are you?
Yeah.
It's like, you all right? And then nothing. What's up, man? Nothing. My son's walking.
What's up, Hodge?
You.
Okay.
Hey, we got a question that just
Okay.
came
What do
in.
we got?
A lot of times you'll close by saying train honestly, and somebody here wants to know what you mean by that.
Okay. I actually wrote a post on this, but train honestly is about. I guess we could say it's like keeping it real. Be honest about what you're going to do. Be honest. First, you want to be honest about the situation. Okay. Listen, it's Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Worst case scenario. What's that?
Murphy?
Which
No.
version?
Jersey joke.
Welcome to Jersey. Yeah, we don't like you either. So, you got to be honest about the situation, which is, look, worst case scenario against the worst person that I can imagine. his best day, my worst day, right? What can I do? And what can I do now? Not 6 months from now, not after I get in shape, not after I reach my goal weight, not after I grow 2 more inches. What can I do right now? Taking a real assessment with yourself and the situation, and then have respect for your adversary. This guy is a cunning, malintended person who intends to, who knows what they're doing. All right. I mean, a lot of times a lot of our people who are trained, quote unquote, look at these guys as like throwbacks, or just like just like people that are can be easily outsmarted, and they're not. They're out there killing. Like I said, they're out there killing what they eat every day. So we need to respect who this person is and the damage that they can do, because while we're training in theory, they're working in reality. And finally, you've got to understand what happens to you under these situations of fight or flight when your SNS, sympathetic nervous system, kicks in, what you're actually going to be able to do, which goes along the lines of what your physical abilities are. Like, we can sit here and pontificate on, well, if he does this, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. And, and it gets into this, this long game of chess, when in reality, like, we don't play chess, we play checkers. It's like, simple, brutal, explosive, convulsive, and any other adjectives I can use. And that's where we want to keep it within the confines of what we're doing. And you're constantly checking yourself as far as like, okay, will this work? Do I have to think about it? Right? Is this a fine motor skill or a gross motor skill? So you're always coming back to the common denominator and trying to simplify what you're doing, not overcomplicate.
Hicks law.
Hicks law, yes.
The least responses you have, the faster you're going to be, the more effective you're going to be.
Right. For those of you that don't know what Mario's talking about, if you have the more choices you have, the slower your response time. So if you train, we're like, well, we always do, like, we would learn when I was young, we learned like self-defense, we learned like alternate technique. And I'm like, why do we use alternate technique? Why not just use the one that just worked? Just go on to the next one. We don't do first and then do this wrist lock. I'm like, well, why don't we just keep hitting? It's like, why? I mean, the wrist lock's cool, man. The wrist release, that's all right, but it's like, dude, no, we just gotta, again, you only have so much time to do this stuff anyway, right? We want to spend time with our families, our friends. I'm like, holy shit, check that box. Let's go to the next thing. You don't need to collect all these little fucking shiny rocks called techniques and be like, oh, look, I can do this, dude. I spend more time doing Aiki Jiu-Jitsu shit, and then whenever like anything got resisted, the Aiki Jiu-Jitsu turned into Judo real quick. It was like as soon as he starts like resisting my wrist lock, okay, we're wrestling. And the rest of the shit goes out the window.
It's like what Musashi had. He just drilled the fundamental stuff. He didn't get caught up. It's like, okay, I'm going to be here at such and such a time. Oh, that's great. I'll be there. You wait for the guy got mad.
Yeah, that was a Kiyoshi on the beach.
Well, the beach one, he defeats the guy. He sees the guy's friends all coming after him with weapons. He's like, you know what? I'm going to leave now.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he did a lot of that stuff. He didn't get out, but he had to talk about having a well-rounded life. He was an artist. He did business. He did architecture. Yeah. He was spent a lot of time with his son, but he trained on the basics. I remember the whole thing and carried the multiple swords. Why are you doing two at the same time? I got two swords. Why not? Why?
Right. And God bless the Japanese for patronizing essentially a mass murder.
You kill 63 people. Right. Kill 63 people in combat.
That's why I love the culture. I do. Sorry. I mean, something to be said. It's like, yeah, this guy's kicking the shit and killing these dudes. Yeah, I mean, there's shit like Musashi. That's what I said. There's like no such thing as a sucker punch. He said it's most regrettable to die with a sword still in its sheath. What does that tell you? You know, it's like, dude, if you got it, use it.
Yeah.
He had got challenged by like, it was what, a 12-year-old kid?
Yeah.
And he ambushed him on the, like, he came like hours early and ambushed the kid on the fight. And we're like, oh, that's not fair. No, as soon as you issue the challenge, and
It's
you know,
on.
it's on.
Right.
It's on.
Right.
It's fucking on. And that's where your people
Yeah.
try to understand. They're like, okay, I'm gonna go meet you there. We're gonna meet you after
3
school.
o'clock after school.
Playground.
Yeah.
Aaron Bird.
Got it, man.
3 o'clock.
Thomas Jefferson shit ain't happening anymore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the Bird Jefferson
Yeah.
stuff, that ain't happening anymore.
No,
He's
it's,
buried down in Wall Street.
That's a hilarious one when the Mongols invaded. The Japanese beat them on the beach, but they ride up there and they're like saying their pedigree so they can find a worthy challenger. The Mongols are sitting there staring at them like, shoot that
Kill
guy.
kill that asshole. Yeah, right.
George got a question.
Okay, George, you got go.
All right, guys, this is going to be the last 2 questions for you. So, first one guy says, digging the Elvis poster in the background, guys. So
Hey,
things-
look,
It's on
bro.
velvet.
It's a
Velvet.
velvet Elvis. It's a velvet Elvis.
all right, so if things go well and you overwhelm the attacker and they go down, at what point should you stop beating this guy? When he's completely out, or maybe when you can get away safely, or is that one and the same?
Yeah.
When he's out.
I'm of the opinion, if you know that you can flee, flee.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and this is just me. You know, my responsibility is to get home to my family. Period. Regardless of what I do, that's my job. Get home to my family. If that means that I have to, you know, if that means that that person is incapacitated, I'm going home to my family. I'm not gonna. I don't think I'm gonna stick around to wait to see if he's knocked out. Actually, but when it gets to a position where I know that that person is no longer going to be able to attack me, or I can outrun them, I'm running. And as I'm running, you know, we're all humans here, right? We all understand human beings. You know, I may feel bad about having to put that person down to be able to run away, but I'm happy I'm going to be home, and I know, you know, I'm calling help for that guy. You know, I'm still a human being. You know, as I'm running, hey, listen, I just got in a fight. Some guy attacked me. It was self-defense. He's on the corner of Pleasant and Maine, and last time I saw him, he was hurt pretty bad, I think.
You reach my lawyer out.
And you know, I'll be, you know, I'm gonna go home, and then I'll let you know when when I come down.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if you mess with Heath, you're getting your ass beat because he ain't running anything.
I want to see you run.
You know, I'm just gonna
I'm running my car.
When you can walk away and be
That's it. It's you know until you feel you can get away safely and get home. That's when it stops. That's when it stops.
George, you said you got another one?
You don't want
Yeah, let's just kind of finish with this one, guys. Can you speak on some real world experiences where you've had to apply some of the principles from the self-defense training system, like such as awareness, de-escalation, and or physical altercation? This would definitely help my family understand the importance of self-defense.
That's a good one.
Well, I mean, I'll start first, every day you're applying these tactics. So when you're going out, like, you know, we're talking about, you know, being aware, counting hats and things like that. Condition yellow, always. So you're walking around. It's like, look, be your own cop, be your own bodyguard, be your own hitman, right? So these are our mindset. I mean, I'll start with just, you know, being, you know, approached, trying to disengage, and then the person not disengaging. Person move, and face, and this was, and I'll be honest, I hit him with a right cross. You didn't raise your hand. That did happen. Whoops. And that was it. That kind of ended it. And I didn't stick around to see what was happening because he went through a door and was like laying face down. The one thing I did do though, which I didn't know I was going to do, everybody turned around to look where, where it came from and who did it. And if everyone's looking at you, you look back and you look too. Don't stop the look. So everyone looked back, and I looked, and I knew it worked because everyone behind me started looking back too. And then I slid out the back. The upside of, the follow up to that is that the person actually found who I was. This is look, guys. This is a long time ago. This was like in the end of the 80s. So. I got a letter in the mail. I was still in college. That's as close as I'm going to go. So I got this letter in the mail, and said, listen, this is me. I found out who you were. You broke my jaw in 6 places. The damages are this. I'm like, would you, could you pay for half? So I'm like kind of freaked out. So I called my brother. And he's like, hey, I'm like, so what happened? I'm like, was the letter registered? I'm like, no. So he's like, throw it out.
Yeah, you never got it.
So then I talked to at our campus, and I asked, like, hey, in this incident on such and such a date, I go, any, no names, nothing. So it was like that was it. It ended there. But yeah, it's all about, going, if fight's imminent, go first. Fight's imminent, go first. There's other times where just, you're looking at situations where, there's avoidance. As soon as your hairs on the back of your neck go, you just break contact and change your behavior pattern. If I'm going down here and I think there's going to, I turn, I move.
On that question, it's like vigilance never stops.
Yeah.
Walking in here, I rode my bike here just because parking is a biatch. So I'm like looking behind bushes and stuff like that, just, glancing and stuff like that, just because I'm on a bike. I don't know what's out there. Around here, there are a lot of deer. I'm paying attention to deer, whatever. It doesn't really matter. So I'm coming here, and I'm coming into, the barn, the door's closed, and I walk in from the next side, and I walk in. And you know what you do? You take an assessment. What's in the room? I can't see it. It's somewhat darkened outside. So a bunch of individuals I knew, a bunch of individuals I didn't. And again, vigilance. Okay, don't know this character, kind of know him, that kind of deal. Process. You're always vigilance. Vigilance is the thing, right? It's like you have to keep.
Without that, no matter what you train in will ever help. Aware. There's nothing in the world that's going to help you.
And if you can avoid these things, by all means, do that. That's a victory in itself.
100%.
You got some maniac screaming at your back gate that he wants in and stuff like that. Like, you don't have to prove anything. You've set up the defensive. The police are on their way. Good. You're ready. The difference is you're ready if he does get through that gate in the meantime.
Self-defense doesn't start. You turn off your car, right? Pick up your seatbelt. You look around your car immediately. Okay, what's the problem here? Where are the blind spots? What do I have to worry about? Okay, past the 5 feet. What's that 20 feet that I have to look around and worry about, right? Okay, then you're walking down the street. All right, well,
Alpha.
Yeah,
Were you actively
Yeah.
standing for
right.
friends?
Yeah, I got into it with my kids down the street, and they were looking at their phone.
Oh yeah.
So they lost their phone privileges for a few days, and they were really pissed at dad because, well, I was just looking at my phone, but yeah, you're walking down the street with your head in your phone.
They got you.
But again, in 4, 5, 6 years, if
Right.
my kid's walking down the street someplace else and dad's not there to protect them,
Yeah.
if dad's
Right.
not teaching them now what to do, then they're gonna do it. And it's kind of like how you teach your kid to drive. If you have kids who are that age, yeah, it's instilling the discipline and it's instilling responsible for their well-being. And if you start that now, they'll be that way when they are outside your front door, and you have to rely on themselves for sure.
You touched on an awesome point. Sorry, Pete. You're responsible for your own well-being. That is a huge $1 million statement, because you are. I mean, look, as first responders, I mean, we come after.
10 minutes after.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
I'm
Best
like,
responses still are a hell of
There's
a
a
long
statement. I love that statement. It says that when seconds count,
Yeah.
help is just minutes away.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're on your own till
Yeah.
And all of us, I mean, besides even just in our personal lives, I mean, this is how, and I think everybody here that's attended the webinar and everybody, the 20-something thousand members that we have, it's everyone thinks that, so. Yeah.
So listen, I alluded to this earlier when my wife wouldn't listen to me. Again,
this is unique.
yeah.
Right.
Had an altercation in the city coming out of the Port Authority with someone. It was just worried something was done, whatever. But so we're crossing 8th Avenue, and I look back and he's following me. He's coming at me.
Now what?
Now I told him to go away, so I positioned. We stopped. We're literally in the middle of 8th Avenue,
What time of day is this?
rush hour.
Yeah.
It's in the morning.
Morning.
Hold on
So
a
this is
second.
the morning.
Well, was this like April rush hour?
No, this
Was
is
it
not
like
this year,
5
not
cars
this
up?
year. No. This was this year. So this was last June or July.
All right.
It's crowded.
It was in
It's packed.
39th and 8th Avenue
Yeah.
at the Port Authority.
Right, a
Packed
mess.
in the morning. So we're literally in the middle of 8th Avenue, stopping traffic, went through 2 lights. I had to sit there and listen to the guy coming at me tell me that he was a badass. So right away, he's not a badass. And I corrected with the distance. I told Teresa to get out. I told Teresa to get out again.
And again.
She didn't listen, but
And
still.
again.
So then I just kept maintaining distance, and pretty soon he got annoyed. He just left.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, going to go anywhere. I wasn't.
What's the city like now?
God, it's disgusting. It's empty, so it's not too. That part's not too bad, but there's junkies and homeless people everywhere, every block.
It's like when you were growing up, Nick.
Hey,
It's all good old
beautiful
days.
thing.
Yeah, it's back to pre-Giuliani New York City.
42nd Street
Wow.
at Disney World.
When I've had to use this stuff, and I'm not going to go to any specifics on different things and training and different things, you realize how much it puts you ahead of the next person. I dealt with a crazy person who was violent, and he's just like,
I meant to apologize about that.
anyway, and do things work out the way you planned? I because when I told him about it, I was like, I did an edge hand. It hit his fist. I was like, okay, that wasn't what I was expecting, but he hurt his hand. I did when he was covering up. I wasn't worried about hurting myself, and I kept on going through the things of what I could really do to up this, but I don't have to. And
And that's where.
I knocked him on the ground 3 times. I'm like, I was walking my car when he got up again. I'm like, really?
Yeah, and you brought up another great point where, it's like you're not mindless automatons, right? I mean, yeah, we're training to be aggressive. We're training to get to that, point to take that first step. But then you can throttle back. It's like going into like a lion and backing off, just so, okay, it's under control. Look, yeah, like Mario mentioned before, like anytime there's always risk of injury or death. Always, because you have physical contact, and it's it's unpredictable. He could slip and fall and hit his head. So can you, by the way.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is why we don't walk around thinking that we're just gonna go, get in fights and do some stupid nonsense shit. But it's like you can, once you see it, but your instinct is telling you, okay, this guy's a problem, but I can handle this.
That's the thing. I think the confidence that comes with it, that I've had times where I've been outnumbered and it looked really bad, and you're like, all right, well, I know what I'm going to do here, and until help gets arrived or I can get out of here. Never, escaping. You're not a coward. You got nothing to prove to these people. If you can get help, by all means. The police arrive, great, but you have the tools to do things. You have approach with confidence that I can do this. Really, it's getting over the whole thing. People are timid, and it's terrorists and other people. They prey on this fear to get what they want, to do what they want. You don't want these choices to be left up to them.
Well, right.
What's going to happen of this scenario? I remember we were talking about home invasion. The worst case I remember was in that case in Connecticut. These two nonviolent offenders, they were paroled early because they were rehab. They were a success story. They raped mom, the daughters, beat dad nearly to death.
That was the doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Doctor. Yeah.
And, I don't like to fault anybody, but they didn't have the back door locked when these guys got in. Little things.
Well, we look at things and we examine.
Yeah.
We look to see. It's like Monday. You look at the film to see what went wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's you use it as a learning experience.
That family, they gave everything they wanted. They gave them $14,000, probably more money than those mutts ever saw.
Right.
They complied.
Well, then it's a matter of what you can say, and that's the thing that you can't control. Again, as soon as you start projecting your values in this, like, look, he wants what he got. He just wants some money. But again, you're planning on them to be, satisfied.
Reasonable.
They're not, because
if they have $14,000, what else do they have that you're not giving?
Right. This is what they gave.
These guys are good at rapes and arson. And I'm like, wow, they see the violent offenders.
You can't reason crazy. That's it.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's $1 or $1 million. Yeah. If you show the I guess the opening gambit, right? If you just put down $1, guess what? He wants 2.
Yeah.
You put 2, guess what?
Remember carrying your mother 20 in the city?
Mother 20.
Well, your mother 20.
What are you taught? You were always taught to carry your wallet.
Yeah.
You got $10-15, and you always take it out, and then you throw it away.
Exactly.
Cost money.
Money. Yeah.
Distraction, just like the personal alarm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the other thing is, like, you kept most of your money in your front pocket, never in your wallet.
Right.
That's the way you were taught.
Yeah.
It's, again, does it work? Most of the time, because guess what? You distract. That distraction gives you time to get the hell out of Dodge. And it's simple as that. And this, you're looking at, and what are we talking about here, right? We're talking about self-defense here. This is another tool. Police officers, they carry a belt. Batman carried a belt. What do we like about that? This was like, it was here. He had options. Mm-hmm. And guess what? This is just another option.
Just another tool in the toolbox. Man.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's it. Okay. So, listen, again, thanks for joining us today, fellas, as always. It's awesome. And we'll see you next time. And until next time, as always, train honestly.
Stay healthy, stay safe.
All right, guys. That's it. Good.